Hello, it's Kelly from Has Offers for TechZulu, and I'm here with Richard of Promptly.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
So Promptly is a new startup.
Yes.
Have you launched yet?
We're launching tomorrow. I can't say very much more about it than that. We're incredibly excited. It's a mobile platform for scheduling, promotions, and payments for a very real world problem for a part of the economy no one thinks about called the invisible economy. This is people who sell time by the session or by the hour, mostly self-employed. So think babysitters, dog walkers, chiropractors, but even psychologists, psychiatrists, lawyers, painters, architects, anyone who has a time-based business who's self-employed and mobile first or mobile only.
So why can't you just use your Gmail calendar and Square?
So it's a great thing. Of the 150 people we interviewed about the business before we launched, only 3 had ever heard of Square.
Really?
These are largely digitally disenfranchised, but interestingly, of them 150 people, less than 20 had a home computer, but 100% had smartphones. So these are mobile first, mobile only users. And none of the products or services that are even trying to reach even part of the service sector we're doing have anything other than a web page and a phone number to sign up.
So if they haven't heard of Square, how are they going to hear about you?
That's great. So we have I can't talk too much about the market strategy, but we have a very, very smart go-to-market strategy, which goes to the users where they are and how they work, as opposed to waiting for them to go and find it on Google or on Yahoo, which is never going to happen.
And where are they?
They spend time going out and about to their sessions. They're mostly people who go to work. So if it's a housekeeper, they come to your house. They use public transport, they listen to the radio, but they're also almost all members of large trade organizations and groups of people who you can really go and find out how to talk to them.
So you're going to infiltrate media, buses.
Yeah. And the third thing, one of our key services is helping fill time, fill your dead appointments. And that's going to be the thing as a provider that you love, is we help you fill that dead time you have based on cancellations or just poor bookings, using your existing friends as well as friends of a friend.
So there's a lot of niches right now that, I'm thinking of HomeJoy. Yeah. There's a dining app that chefs
We share an investor with HomeJoy, actually. I love that business.
Okay, I love HomeJoy. I use it all the time. So right now users can sign up and fill that slot. So you are kind of
We're the other side of that. So what's happened is a lot of people try and attack this from a discovery business. So discovery businesses like MyTime, Thumbtack, some of these guys, Yelp even, hey, I'm going to look for a service provider. And that's great for a one-time discovery event. We're a mobile platform for the provider to run their business, so closer to Square or OpenTable. And we view those businesses as great partners to help us fill dead time in our provider's inventory or schedule.
Okay, so I don't necessarily need to go looking for that psychiatrist. Yeah. They basically go out to try to find
your psychiatrist will use this, and as you start to work with them, it'll be just the system you use, and you'll like it so much that when you send an appointment to your babysitter, you'll use the same system, and she'll join the platform.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. It's called Promptly.
Promptly.
Prompt.ly. And you're launching tomorrow.
Launch tomorrow.
Exciting. And so I'm sure you've been an successful founder of previous businesses.
Yes.
To name a few include?
Razorfish, Schematic, which is now called Possible. It's the #1 and #2 interactive agency in the world. And I used to be the head of digital for the BBC for my sins.
So you've made probably a lot of mistakes.
Many.
What mistakes have you learned from that you're taking with you to Promptly?
So it's interesting, with Promptly, the very first lesson we learned and applied here is we did 150 customer interviews before we wrote a line of code or designed a single screen. And we did that because the market is a horizontal as opposed to a vertical. We really wanted to understand what these people need as a solution, or if they even needed one, before we could actually launch the product. And from those interviews, we then changed a lot of things about the way we designed and built the product. For instance, we took payments out. We have payment partnerships with WePay and PayPal. But the key is, we realized that with only 20% of transaction volume being based on credit cards weren't the problem. The problem was payment tracking, and we do that feature first.
Will you tie into FreshBooks and TurboTax and all that good stuff?
Interestingly, FreshBooks, you kind of don't need FreshBooks if you use us, because we track all of your business inventory. What we will do is export via your accounting to whatever accounting packages accountants prefer, and that'll be a big channel partnership for us, because right now accountants hate these customers because they have bits of paper and scraps of paper tracking their business over the last year.
As a former freelancer, I know how that works. So I have to ask, if you're a mobile platform, what are you doing at Glazed?
So interestingly, when we did that customer interview, I was really struck by this idea that this part of the economy that no one cares about, but I think is super sexy, mostly because they're some of the most interesting people in the business. And that only 20% of these people had a computer. It's actually less than 20%. It was 20 people of the first 150 we interviewed. And 100% of them have smartphones. 100%. I don't think 100% of the people in this building have smartphones. So these are people who grab technologies when they come out, when they make sense to them for their daily lives. When you're on the go, you're going from appointment to appointment via public transport, you need a smartphone a lot more than you need a computer. And yet, 100% of the products and services ever even attempting to service these people were web-based products that don't work on a smartphone.
So the wearables aspect is impressive because?
So wearables will be the next wave for this use case. Service workers, I think, will be the #1 user of wearables in the next 5 years, and it's the fastest growing part of the economy, both in the US, but particularly in emerging markets where we'll be going next.
Wearables is a big term. We think wearables, we think of Fitbits, we think of Job on Up, we think of glass, especially glass, that's the really hot topic. When you talk about wearables, what are you really talking about?
So the thing about it is, if you think about why do these people have smartphones as opposed to laptops, it's because they're on the go. They need a computer that's with them, that can track their information. But today, that computer is still difficult to use, it's hard for them to remember where it is, they lose it, it's got multifunction. So the more that technology can disappear into just part of what they use as equipment. So if you think about service workers across the space, whether they're people who take your orders at restaurants or a masseuse, they need a computer that works the way they work, not to work the way the technology requires them to work. And that's really an expertise. And also, as the founder of Razorfish and Schematic, and as a user experience guy for 25 years, I'm very, very focused on thinking about how do we address those real world problems early on in a product development cycle for a technology, long before people actually get to the real nitty gritty of using it in their day-to-day lives.
So what has most impressed you about Glazed so far?
I'm impressed that there are this many companies trying to tackle the sort of wearable space today. The space has grown dramatically in the last 2 years. Razorfish, we used to mock up like computers you could wear and like coats, and there's a guy I saw yesterday, Michael White, who has a wearable subwoofer. And these are all things that people have been doing a long time, but really to see it all in one place, one exciting event, all this activity, it reminds me of 1996 and the World Wide Web.
Wow, that's a big comparison.
Yeah.
So what do you think is next for wearables?
I think the minute we work out voice interface and control or gestural interface and control, that means I put my hand up, I do this. Like you saw in Minority Report, a movie whose user experiences were designed by my company, Schematic. That, when you change the hardware interface into a software or a virtual interface, that will be the next big change in this in this product world.
You think that'll make it more mainstream?
I think the more you can remove friction between consumer and product, the more people will engage in the use of that product.
That's a fair point. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.